You now have your own Hazelcast instance running in the cloud. Fantastic! But Hazelcast doesn't do anything by itself. It needs instructions and it needs data. These instructions typically come from a client application connected to the cluster or from a pipeline submitted to the cluster. To help you get started with a client, Hazelcast has provided a quick connect client for all our supported programming languages. This example does two things. First, it creates an SSL secured connection between the client application and your Hazelcast instance in the cloud. All the credentials for security are auto-generated, so you don't have to worry about any SSL configuration on either the client or the cloud. Two, the application performs some basic data reads and writes. You'll be able to see this from both the system running the client and in the cloud dashboard, verifying that Hazelcast is receiving and storing data in memory. Here's the quick setup client instructions. Hazelcast provides a sample client application to make it easy to start connecting to your Viridian serverless cluster. Select the Quick Connection option, then choose your preferred programming language. Follow the steps on the screen to download, then run a client with all the security parameters pre-configured for you. I've downloaded the Java client since that's what I'm set up for. And while the steps may differ, the overall process is the same except for SQL, which we'll address in a separate lesson. Following the quick connect steps, I'll run the Maven command that will compile, then run my code. This goes pretty quick, so let's scroll back to see what's actually happened here. Everything above the line is Maven doing the build, then running it. Next, you see the client attempt to connect to the cluster. Once the connection is successful, the rest of the code runs, pushing 8 entries into an in-memory map. Then the client disconnects. Ta-da! We're done! Okay, seriously, let's take a look at what's inside that client code. First, the client sets all the properties needed for SSL authentication and encryption. These properties are unique to each Hazelcast cloud instance, so the credentials you see on the screen here won't exactly match the credentials generated for your cloud instance. Next comes the client configuration itself, invoking the SSL properties and setting the unique discovery token for your Hazelcast instance. Again, if you're looking at your downloaded client code, the specific token will be different. The next line actually starts the client with all the defined configuration. When you go to write your own client application, you need to copy all these lines to your main client module in order for the application to connect to your cloud instance. The client includes a polite message letting you know that the client has successfully opened a secured connection to the cloud. Now the client actually does something. Hazelcast has actually included 4 examples in this client. I've run the first one, and then I'm going to run each one separately in separate videos so you can observe the activity on both the client and in the cloud dashboard. In the first example, the client creates an IMAP, Hazelcast's in-memory key value store. In this case, the code creates a map called cities. Next, the code populates the map with entries. When I run the client, the console captures that connection process, prints the connection successful message, then prints the status message showing that the data has been entered. Let's have a look at the cloud side. Click on your cluster name to open the cloud dashboard. Here you can see basic information about the cluster setup. You'll also see graphs, memory usage, and client connections. Because our client disconnected after creating the map, we don't have any active connections currently. The next set of graphs are specific to the map that the client created. In the pull-down, you see that you're looking at statistics for the structure called cities. There's not much to look at here because there's no activity currently happening. We will revisit these graphs when we run the continuous write client example. At this point, you can continue with running additional client examples, or you can start your own project. Just remember to copy the authentication information to your main program.